Vitya Diaries Chapter 23, Good Friends. Go Shapopowage, I really hope you're okay, Viktor. By the time the balloons from the first day of classes had withered and died, Mokuchin and I had everything worked out. Routine was essential, the therapists said, for keeping my dog happy. I think they really meant that it would keep me happy. But I liked pretending that it was for Mokuchin's benefit. Every day, we got up way too early and went on a run along the canal. Mokuchin got to mark his territory and I got to have plenty of fresh air and thinking time before we went back to the dorms. There, Moku would nap while I snuck in a private shower before the other boys woke up. If I hurried, I had just enough time to check my messages in case Nico had written to me in the night. He liked staying up late, before going to breakfast. After that, I had my regular block of academic classes, peppered with ballet and piano, language, and character acting in the afternoon. Since it was the start of the competitive season, I had skating 3 times a week, with rehearsals on the weekends, homework in the evenings, and the rest of the time devoted to taking Mokuchin out and talking to Nico. There wasn't much time left, but I treasured every sweet second of it. Why, don't bother. Why? If he's going to make you think he's your friend and then freak out when he finds out that you're why different why, then you don't need him in your life. Why? He's probably just jealous anyway. Me, I'm pretty sure he's straight. Nico. Why? So am I. Why? Don't reply to him, Miska. Why? He doesn't deserve you. It didn't sit well with me, but I hadn't even figured out how to reply to Yorgi. Even though he'd apologized, it wasn't fine and things weren't okay. He hadn't even really done anything. It wasn't his fault that I was whatever I was. It wasn't his fault that his family would freak out if they knew. There was nothing I could think of to say that would have helped. Nothing he could have said in response that would have fixed it. No solution I could come to. So I didn't reply at all. Thankfully, school for me meant school for Yorgi, too. And since we were in different divisions, our training schedules were completely different. I didn't even have to try to avoid him because I didn't even share the rink with him most of the time. Coach was a different story, but I needed to talk to him about the gala. Our first competition was in 2 weeks. The gala in 3. It would be tight, but Tetya Olia was my sponsor, and it was just over a weekend, so hopefully Coach would be willing. I went straight to his office for the early Saturday morning session to be sure that we could discuss it alone. After knocking once, I let myself in. Coach Vitya. Coach motioned for me to sit, but I didn't. I wanted to speak with you. Here, I muttered, not giving him a chance to speak as I shoved the envelope at him. Tetya Olia invited us to a fancy gala thing in Moscow. We're supposed to go as her guests. He stood, but didn't take it. The envelope stayed between us, untouched by his hand. His gaze trained on my face. Vitya. She said she'd pay for airfare and hotel. Or we can stay at their house. They have rooms. Vitya, please listen. I didn't know that Yorgi didn't. I raised my voice to smother his measured composure. I'm supposed to deliver the invitation, Coach, so take it. His eyes never left mine as his fingers pinched the thick, off-white sleeve, and pulled it from my grip. But before I could turn away from him, he reached for me. I want to talk this over. My arm was like a little twig in his meaty bare paw, and the weight behind his stare was that of a mountain. But I wasn't just a boy, I was a princess, and I wasn't intimidated by all of that. I didn't struggle, just let out my breath. What, Coach? I thought, with all the time you had spent around Yorgi, that he would have known about the boy. You two seemed close. If I'd known. I forced a little smile. Thin. Plastic. It's fine, Coach. Don't worry about it. I know you're upset, but Yorgi is a good boy. I'm sure that he understands. Coach, it doesn't matter that he's a good boy. If anything, that makes it worse. Do you know what happens to good boys when they hang around people like me? Coach said nothing. Words caught in his throat. He has a normal family, Coach. A family that moved here 'cause he's supposed to be the best skater, the pride of Russia. He can't associate with me. I've met his parents. I've seen what they're like. Vitya. Yorgi's got enough of his own issues without being friends with a boy who likes other boys. His parents would kill him. I don't want that on my hands. Do you? The snap left Coach staring, speechless and a little pale. I had to admit I was a little proud of shocking him, but felt sick at the same time. When he said nothing, I sucked in a breath, shuddered, and forced myself to calm down before speaking again. This is better for everyone, okay? A silence followed, broken only by my ragged breaths as I tried to stay calm. Outside, Mokyuchin paced by the door, whining. Anxious. You aren't alone, Vitya. Coach was frowning at me. I waited for him to elaborate, shoving hands in my pockets. You seem to keep forgetting this fact, but you aren't. I shuffled my feet on the hard wooden floor of his office and watched one of my shoelaces gather dust bunnies like a little leash. It had come untied. I know I'm not, I said, though honestly, I had no idea if I was just lying again. Coach put his arms around me, and I heard the rustle of the envelope at my back, paper on the smooth material of my jersey. He held me there, tight and secure, and said nothing. At first I wondered if maybe it was to serve a point, get me to admit that he'd always been there, or he wouldn't release me from a headlock, and found myself listening to his breathing, and then his heartbeat, strong and consistent. Like he was, like he'd always been, like he was saying, and it was too much. I cried, and he didn't let go until I was done crying, even though it was stupid, and I'd done it way too many times in the past few months. But that was how it was with Coach. He always took care of me. When I was done, I was tired and miserable. Sorry, Coach. Me, too. And then he smiled, and I saw that he'd cried a little, too, maybe. You can tell me anything, Vitya. You know this, duh? I put my head back on his shoulder and sighed. I could tell him anything, but that didn't mean I should. As much as I loved Coach, and as much as I wanted to confide in him, there were some things better left unsaid. That was how it had always worked. And it would be even more important going forward. I shook my head, forcing another little smile. Yeah, I know, Coach. Sorry. Then I forced another sigh. So about Moscow. You'll go with me, right? To see this boy? I blushed. I see. His grin grew wider. It's to see Tetya Olia. Of course. So tell me about this boyfriend of yours, Vitya. What? Now? Coach needs to know about his skaters. Okay. So I really did want to tell him, at least a little bit. And it wasn't like Coach didn't already know that I'd been texting Nico, and that I was crazy about him, and that I thought he was really cute. 3 sticks. I was really bad at this. Well? He nudged me. I frowned, the color spreading to my ears. Nico. I don't know, Coach. He's just really cute, and we went shopping and to the zoo, and he kissed me and I whined. My voice was still squeaky. I think I'm in love, okay? He laughed and he hugged me again, rubbing my back while I squirmed and complained. Vitya, you're growing up. Getting tall. I stopped moving. Huh? Felix has mentioned it earlier, but come to think of it, since when could I just rest my head on his shoulder? It's a good thing. I'm happy for you. I just don't want to miss it. We worked hard to refine my routines before the first leg of the Junior Grand Prix competition, which for me was the Mexico Cup, but I found it hard to be too nervous about it. My ambitious short program and story-driven free skate were nothing to the prospect of staying at my boyfriend's house for a weekend. Don't forget that his mother is your sponsor, Vitya. That was Coach's attempt to keep me focused, and it didn't work at all. If anything, I was more nervous, more distracted. Poor Mokyuchin stayed close, pacing and snuggling, nosing and nudging, but he could only do so much. Dogs weren't allowed on ice rinks any more than they were on dance floors, and he wasn't going to be cleared for air travel anytime soon, service dog or not. He wasn't old enough and he didn't have the licensing. I couldn't stand the thought of him in quarantine, either. I'd have to leave him behind. My Mokyuchin, my anchor, my best friend, the best dog in the whole universe. Not only my companion, but my brother and my son and my partner in crime and confidant. What would I do without him? He laid his head in my lap, gazing up at me, fretting on my behalf. Poor Mokyu. I had to be strong for him, and come back in one piece. I had to get the gold. Do you have everything ready for the flight tomorrow? I think so. I usually packed pretty light for competitions, especially since my costumes were already in Coach's care. Though we would be in Mexico a few days, the chances of us actually leaving the hotel and doing much were slim. I was just there to skate and rest, including homework. Groaning, I slipped the latch so I could start repacking yet again. Coach, come on. You know the rules, Vitya. Have your relatives come to pick up Mokyuchin? Or are we taking him to be boarded? Felix said he'd dog sit while I'm gone. Is that so? Mokya really likes Felix and Veruca, that's his girlfriend. Mokya-chin wagged his tail as soon as his name was mentioned. Though he didn't look happy. He had curled up by the door, head on his paws, looking quite forlorn. He knew that I was leaving. It was breaking my heart. Are you paying them? No. They said that they wanted to pretend to be married or something, so they're borrowing Mokya-chin and going on long, romantic walks together. I groaned. Weird, right? Coach didn't think it was all that strange, and steered the conversation back. I'm glad that's taken care of. It'll be fine, and we'll be back before you or he knows it. I know. I cried when I hugged Mokya-chin goodbye, and I kissed his nose, his forehead, and both of his ears before I left. Felix was nice enough not to say anything about it, and Coach took my suitcase from me so I could hide my face. Be good, Mokya-chin. I'll be back soon. I love you. Mokya-chin wagged his tail and sat obediently at Felix's feet while I got in the car. I didn't put his vest on him that morning because he was off duty until further notice. His being on vacation was my only solace as we drove away. It didn't take long for me to realize that I missed my dog way more than I missed my boyfriend. Mexico City was nice, though. I didn't get to see too much of it between the airport and the hotel, but I like what I did see. It was warm and green and it rained and rained and rained like it wasn't going to stop. But then it did. Just like that. I bet there are tropical birds here. I told Coach in the cab drive over, but he just ignored me. We checked in, dropped off our stuff, did the opening ceremonies thing, and then Coach made me do homework until I was too tired to be alive anymore. Then, and only then, did we get to relax with some soap opera megaverse, which I promptly slept through, even though it looked like an amazing telenovela about lawyers. No fair, but it was probably a good thing. I would have missed Mokya-chin so much if I'd been given any time to think about it at all. I still missed him, but I'd fallen asleep too soon to get too sad about it. The next morning, I got up early to head to the business center and check my email so I'd have plenty of time to scope the competition, and found an email from Nico. Miska, Mom says that she will be watching you skate. Make sure to do well. What could be sexier than confidence? I read it 30 or 40 times before logging out of the computer, positively vibrating. He was right. He was totally right. Confidence was the most attractive, sexiest thing. Authentic confidence could step on me anytime it wanted. Yes, please. I would skate with everything that I had. I would get the gold. I would break records that even the seniors couldn't ignore. Then I could go home to St. Petersburg to Mokya-chin and tell him all about it. Viktor Nikiforov. Your performance today was absolutely astounding. I don't think anyone's seen anything quite like that on the ice. Good. I did all the choreography on my own. You did? Yeah. Coach helped make sure of safety, but I took care of the dance elements. Step sequence. Yeah, all that. Incredible. Your coach, Yeko Feltzman, who's been in charge of the finest Russian skaters for nearly the past 2 decades, says that this was inspired by a traditional Russian dance. Is that right? Yeah. Cossack dance. Does everyone learn it in Russia? I learned it at Vaganova. Vaganova is your ballet academy, yes? Duh. Very good. Well, it seems like you're in the lead for this Cup of the Junior Grand Prix, with just the free skate to go. How do you feel about your competition here in Mexico City, Viktor? Is there anyone that you're keeping an eye on? I've been too busy practicing to pay much attention. Really? I know there's one. Blonde hair? I'm pretty sure I saw him. Maybe. And there's someone here from Germany. I see. Well, it's good to keep focused. Do you have something incredible planned for tomorrow, too? Of course. I'm going to surprise everyone. I'm sure you will. Thank you, Viktor. Good luck. Spasibo. I almost killed myself for Moscow, but it was worth it. The short program score was insane. A personal best. Even better, the audience adored it. Everyone got fired up. They screamed and stomped or clapped along. Some did both. Their cheers, their applause, the calls of my name in their voices was the most incredible thing. Me, alone. It wasn't like the wishing star, with its sweet and melancholy pleading, drawing on their hearts and sympathy, but like wildfire, catching their energy, their smiles, their delight, and setting everything ablaze. They had fun. I had fun. I was breathless and so sore from the overextension, but no one could deny my charm. The judges certainly didn't. I soaked in the tub back in our hotel room for an hour to ease the suffering, and made some adjustments to the choreography in my head for next time. It was only just starting to dawn on me why coach said it was fine to start slower in the beginning of the season and reach your peak at the final. For the free skate, I let the music guide me through the routine, transforming me from the traditional Russian boy of the day before to the mistress of the mountain, a crystal guardian luring her prey deeper into the mountainside with sweet words and then letting them go. This time no one knew what to expect, not of laybacks like that, or of opposite spins, or the effortless elegance in my jumps. Ballet had disciplined me well. I was a true princess on ice, and it was beautiful. Lilia would have been proud. I took gold for Russia, for coach, for Mokyuchin, for Tetya Olia, for my mama, for Vaganova, for Nico, and for me, but coach got to keep the medal. Of course. Here, I said, pressing it into his palm. You're giving me another medal, Vitya? You don't have to. Sasha does it. We have a different arrangement. I pressed harder, and folded his other big bear paw over it for safekeeping. First gold of every season is yours, coach. I'll get one for my next competition. He pried back his fingers and inspected it, giving himself time to consider my words. After tracing its beveled edge 3 times, he folded the ribbon over and tucked it away in his pocket. Thank you, Vitya. We'll take this to Moscow to show Tetya Olia. Moscow was next. After going home to my Mokyuchin,